We are joined in this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sex trafficking ring. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities.
The survivors are in the room, not in documents, not in testimony, read aloud, in the room, sitting there in Congress, waiting. And the woman who runs the Department of Justice, the woman whose department was legally required to protect them, is sitting just a few feet away. What happened in the next 5 minutes is one of the most damning exchanges I have seen in a congressional hearing, because it wasn't just an argument. It was proof. 2 violations, documented, shown on camera, side by side. The first violation, the DOJ redacted the names of the predators, not to protect the investigation, not for national security. The names of the men who communicated with Jeffrey Epstein, men who wrote things like "I loved the torture video," those names were blacked out, hidden from the public, hidden from Congress. One of those names was only revealed after members of Congress demanded the unredacted files. And when that name came out, it wasn't some unknown figure. It was Sultan Ahmed bin Sulam, chairman and CEO of a company with direct financial ties to President Trump's business, personal ties to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon. Let that land. The DOJ, under this administration, redacted a name that connects directly back to Trump's world, and they only gave it up when Congress forced their hand. That is violation number 1. The second violation is, if anything, worse, because while the predators were protected, the survivors were not.
Only after members of Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files did the world learn the name of this individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and personal ties to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon. Second, the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only 1 name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades." To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice
Attorney General
Guys,
Bondi.
no, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a
Attorney General, yes, sir.
specific question
Attorney General
that
can
I would
respond to your
like
question.
you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she
It
doesn't
is
like the
my
answer.
time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she
question.
ask Merrick Garland this?
I am
twice
reclaiming
when he
my
sat in my
time, and
chair?
when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the
my
gentlelady has
time.
reclaimed
I'm
her
not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say this.
I'll direct it to
What a
you.
massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness
I'm
is
not going to get in
interrupting.
the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing theatrics.
and let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only
Regular
to
order.
then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Ghislaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the cover-up, and I wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level
Chairman,
apologize
The chair now
to them
recognizes the chair.
and what you have done.
Time of the
I
gentlelady
yield
expired.
back.
The gentlelady, you have no time to yield back.
Theatrics.
We appreciate the thought.
Did you catch that? 32 survivors. Names released, addresses released, emails released, nude photographs released, and Jane Does, who had been protected for decades, women who had kept their identities secret through years of legal battles, exposed in a single file dump by the Department of Justice. And here's the quote that matters. This is from the survivors themselves, not from a politician, not from a pundit. This release does not feel like closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades. Read that sentence again. Punish those who came forward. That's what they said. That's how it felt to them. And that is exactly what the evidence suggests happened. The predators got cover. The victims got exposed. And then Congresswoman Jaya Paul asked Pam Bondi to do one thing. One thing. Turn around. Look at the survivors sitting right behind you and apologize for what your Department of Justice did to them. Bondi wouldn't do it. Instead, the committee erupted. Republican members jumped in to run out the clock. One of them called it theatrics. Another talked over the Congresswoman in the final seconds of her time as she tried to get a simple human answer out of the Attorney General. The survivors sat there with their hands raised. Every single one of them. Still waiting to meet with the Department of Justice. Still waiting for acknowledgement. Still waiting. And the Attorney General of the United States couldn't turn around. Think about that. You can parse the legal arguments. You can debate the procedures, but you can't explain away that moment. Because this isn't complicated. There are women sitting behind you who were trafficked as children. Your department exposed their names, their emails, their addresses, their photographs. And you won't turn around. And here's what makes it worse. This wasn't a bureaucratic accident. This wasn't a filing error. Jaya Paul walked through the specific structure of the violations, the pattern of redacting predators while releasing victims. That is a choice. Somebody made that call. And now the Attorney General is sitting in front of Congress, unable to look the survivors in the eye. The Congresswoman used her last seconds to say exactly what this was. What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files a centerpiece of his campaign. He promised accountability. He promised transparency. Then his DOJ released files that protected the predators, exposed the victims, and hid at least one name with direct ties back to Trump's own business network. His Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche took a solo meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell in a minimum security prison. The client list that Bondi once claimed to have, suddenly, there is no list. Every promise made about the Epstein files has either been broken, walked back, or quietly buried, and the survivors are still raising their hands. Here is what we know. 1. The DOJ redacted names of powerful men connected to Epstein while releasing the names, photos, addresses, and identities of their victims. That is documented. It was shown on camera in the hearing. 2. One of those redacted names has direct financial ties to Trump's business and personal ties to Steve Bannon. It only came out because Congress demanded it. 3. Every single Epstein survivor in that room had not yet been contacted by the Department of Justice. Every hand went up. 4. When asked to simply turn around and face those survivors, Pam Bondi refused to answer. The word cover-up gets used too easily in politics. It gets thrown around so often it loses meaning. But when you have documents, when you have a pattern of protecting specific names, when you have survivors raising their hands in the chamber, when the Attorney General won't turn around, at some point, you have to call it what it is. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a hearing. This is testimony. This is on the record. And the people who were supposed to be protected are still waiting. If this clip made you angry, good. That anger is the right response. Share this video. The survivors who stood up in that room deserve to have people see what happened. Drop a comment with one word. What do you call a DOJ that protects predators and exposes victims? Subscribe if you want to keep watching the moments that the mainstream coverage glosses over, because there will be more hearings. There will be more documents. And we'll be here.